Hey everybody, welcome to the eve of Christmas Eve. I think that's right. I'm not even sure anymore. All the days are bleeding together. But today was a great day, and let's chat about exactly what we see going on out there. Want to make sure everything is working? It is. Woohoo. We got noise, we got sound, we got some picture. And let's jump in, switch cameras, and let's find out what's going on. So, first of all, crypto's back in favor. Everybody is excited. Second of all, channels about math and money and freedom. And third, this is edutainment, as you guys know. So here we have a green day. Everything is green. Everything's rebounding. We're pumping really hard. I got big moves. Bitcoin up over 2,000. Sol, Polkadot, BNB, even XRP, Doge, Cardano making a big dark green move. But Avalanche, CELO, IOTA, no, not moving today for some strange reason. So let's talk about what exactly went down. So as I was saying all week, capitulation was here, bottom was in, etc. Now, many signals suggest the bottom's in, but all the trade rags are coming out and saying, ooh, here we are, everybody. The bottom is in. So I think sometimes people wait for a confirmation before they jump on and talk about that. But it's important to be ahead of the game. So let's talk a little bit about this. Crypto is liked again. Amazing. Just like that. It goes into favor. And it's kind of weird the way human nature is, the way people get so upset so fast. Because if we look forward, we are at Bitcoin levels not seen in 11 days. 11 days of being down, and people are kind of throwing in the towel, looking for sharp objects, etc. We have hovered around that 47k level for the longest time. We had one spike to 50, fell back down again. Another one just shy of 50, fell down again, and then we broke through. So hopefully it will stay, but you never know with Bitcoin. But many signs are positive. I'm going to share some of those positive signs I see right now as well. Big thank you to the moderators there in the chat. Thank you for all you do. So this was yesterday's slide. Yesterday, Bitcoin was trying to make a breakout, and it was very clear it was knocking on the door. There was no way down. The only way was up through the fire escape or whatever is above the ceiling, little glass window. So when we look at some of the good news as well, Wyoming Senator Cynthia, she's one of the U.S. lawmakers behind the pro-crypto pieces of legislation, is planning to introduce a comprehensive bill next year to handle digital assets, which includes things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, stablecoins, etc., that will kind of set digital assets onto a class of their own. And I like the way as well she uses the term digital assets and not cryptocurrencies. We need to get away from that term cryptocurrency because it's a misnomer and it scares people, especially those in power that run central banks and such. So Willy was on with Scott Melker, and he said, we are off to the races soon, which is great. From all the stuff he sees, and he looks at on-chain data all the time. And he said after the recovering from the recent pullback, he believes we're gearing up for a massive rally that could kick off during the first 2 months of 2022. We're just coming out of the huge reaccumulation zone. And he sees all that. And I spoke about accumulation over the past couple of months, since September pretty much. And right now, the problem we have is there's very little supply. Let me talk about that right now. So Alex Mashinsky believes we are going to 140 to 160K in 2022. Not sure when exactly, but he also expects gold to hit 2,000. Woohoo! Gold could add 10%. That would be huge. I hope nobody here still owns gold. There's better places to park your money. Just stick it in Tesla or somewhere else. Anyway, huge hope for gold, but a lot more hope for Bitcoin, which would be a 3x. And he expects this to happen in Q1 or Q2 next year. So watch that space carefully. Now, this is the piece I really want to dig into and look at the amount of Bitcoin circulating. 1.3 million Bitcoin are circulating, i.e. 6.2% of total supply is on exchanges. The rest is stored away in cold storage. And if you look at this chart here, you'll see some of the biggest holders. Coinbase, about 580,000. Bitcoin, Binance, 330,000. Bitfinex, 193, etc. and other exchanges holding about 67,000. That would include things like Robinhood and Square, etc. So that is kind of startling. Again, 6.2% of the 19 million Bitcoin. But remember, there's only going to be 14 million maximum. So there's not a lot going around. Basically, we're now at the level of being just about that 10% of supply is available on exchanges. And remember, there's people who store their crypto on exchanges because they don't trust their self-custody, which is a very wise move. It takes a lot to be your own sovereign bank, a lot of security, a lot of discipline, a lot of rigor. So make sure if you are doing your self-custody, be careful. And if you are storing your crypto on the exchanges, make sure you got everything buttoned up. YubiKeys, all that type of stuff I've covered many, many times before. So thank that, everybody. And watch the shady exchanges too, because they are subject to theft. Now let's look at this drainage, as I call it. The Bitcoin drainage is dramatic. This is the 30-day moving average. I showed this a few days ago, and it was nowhere near as bad as this. So the Bitcoin supply moving from a liquid to illiquid state. This means moving from being on an exchange to being put into cold storage. The illiquid state is changing now at the rate of 100,000 Bitcoin per month. Okay, I'll repeat that. 100,000 Bitcoin per month are leaving the exchanges. Okay, I just showed you we have 1.3 million. That means 13 months from now, there'll be nothing left. If things continue at this pace, of course they're not going to. But the point is, illiquid coins with little history of spending are being stored and generally associated with investors that accumulate, hodlers, people that are playing the 5-year game, the 10-year game, not investing. And I've been talking about this all year. It's only a matter of time before the supply dries up. And then you know what's going to happen. Classic rules of economics. Supply and demand. Caligula, maybe drop a comment there about what you think about what could happen if we drain further. And what happens when, there's 500,000 Bitcoin left in the exchanges and big movers, treasuries, sovereigns start coming in and trying to buy 10,000 at a time like Michael Saylor. Price will go right up. So let's talk a little bit about some slightly bad news, but Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Big thank you as well to Sanjay who sent this to me. Hit a record of 21.5% discount yesterday or the day before. And now it's at 19% today. But the point is, they are really dragging behind. They are looking to have a spot ETF approval some stage, and I do believe it'll happen by June next year. But the point is, the GBTC folks, we're not doing very, very well, and that's a big discount. So for those who have retirement accounts and you can buy GBTC at a 20% discount, do it. It's well worth it. Now let's talk about some more spot versus proxies. Now this is an interesting chart. Again, Sanjay sent it to me. This compares how they have performed over the year. Very clearly, you can see that Bitcoin has performed the best. Some of the other proxies have not, especially the contango effect of BitTo I tackled 2 or 3 days ago. GBTC for the year is down 4%. Bitcoin's up 66, 67%. And MicroStrategy is up about 32%. Remember, it was when I first started this channel, I was doing the arbitrage MicroStrategy videos, November, December. Two of my first 3 videos were MicroStrategy videos saying, everybody, look at this, easy. So obviously, MicroStrategy had a huge premium going into the year, and that's why the performance is down, because it was overvalued, like the spike when it went to $1,200. But again, the point is, spot works. I always say, hold it in the pure form, unless you're using things like derivatives or options on proxies. That's where you can make great money. Otherwise, hold the pure form. Message has not changed all year. Now, hash rate. We are going back to 200 exahashes, not seen since before the Chinese banned mining. And why is this important? Well, obviously, with the total hash rate nearing this, it means typically price follows the hash rate. That means once we hit an all-time high for hash rate, Bitcoin will hit an all-time high too. That's what I've seen in all the years I've been looking at Bitcoin. So if we do hit that, I think the 209 approximately is the all-time record. That means Bitcoin has to go above 68K. So we'll watch for that carefully. Now, this also has a little bit of an adverse effect on the miners themselves. So when hash rate increases, so does price, but mining profitability falls. So again, Bitcoin price follows the hash rate, in my opinion. Some people differ on that. That's just my opinion. And but the profitability of the miners falls. So we're seeing, after the mining companies have had a stellar year, they are now getting clobbered pretty hard. Let's look at one of them, Cleanspark. This one you may remember. We got in at $10. It shot to 24 and fell all the way back down to 11. So think about that. And my mistake was not hedging it at the top, but I thought Bitcoin was going to go higher. So my bad, but I'm still holding. I thought about getting more, but I didn't get in. It didn't fall below 11. So we'll see. But the question is for everybody out there, could it be a good time to buy the miners? Well, it's important to look. Now, Cleanspark, when we look at Cleanspark as well, they should have about 2 exahashes operational by next week. That means they'll be handling over 1% of all the hash power from all the global miners around the world, which means they get 1% of all the Bitcoin mined every day, which becomes quite a bag over time. So we'll watch this carefully. Let's talk about some of the most traded DEXs. Here, it's a quick analysis of which ones are the most popular right now. This changes all the time. Now, Binance is the 800-pound gorilla with about 1.1 billion traded. DYDX, 700. TJ's, Trader Joe's from Avalanche, 457. Fantom, 171. Matic, 120. But it's interesting to see Solana has 3 separate DEXs up there, totaling about 300 million. So they're ranked, what's that, 1, 2, 3. They're ranked 4th or 5th from this chart. So we'll see what happens. But Avalanche has really grown very fast, and a couple of others too. I expect them all to eat some of the market share away from Binance over time. A little bit of Luna news. Looks like we can't stop talking about Luna these days. Luna keeps smashing records every single day, and according to DeFi Llama, the TVL, total value locked, of Luna shot up to 19.3 billion. Remember, it was about 50 million at the beginning of the year. That's about 36,000% increase. Binance Smart Chain was relegated to the 3rd spot. Luna is now number 2, right behind Ethereum, which has about 150 billion locked in. So a long way to go to catch up with Ethereum. But remember, Ethereum's been around a long time and everything runs on Ethereum. I think Ethereum right now handles about 65% of all TVL. But it's also decreasing very rapidly. Remember, beginning of the year, Ethereum was over 95% of all TVL. Now it's lost 30%, which is also very dramatic. So a lot of these other competing chains are chomping at the heels, nibbling away, and they're shrinking. Now, in some interesting news, I thought this was super interesting from Munib.BTC, talking about the Bitcoin paradoxes. And I suffer from some of these too. So obviously, Bitcoin maxis, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, but if I were, they love decentralization, yet use centralized exchanges to trade. I thought it was kind of funny. They love free markets, yet hate VCs, who are free market actors. Get it? Paradox again. And they love open source, yet hate an entire revolution of new open source apps. So that's kind of like, if you look at the whole Web3 spat going on between Jack Dorsey and Andreessen Horowitz and whoever else, they're all fighting amongst each other right now about what the right thing to do is. So I thought it was time for us all to be aware that, yes, paradoxes do exist in the space. It's still early. Some people say that Nayib Bukele is against the kind of core values of what Bitcoin is because of why he's trying to make everybody use it, which is against what Bitcoin should be. But anyway, you'll always find a paradox somewhere. Just learn to live with it. Follow the money. That's how you become free and make the world a better place. Now, speaking of a little bit of sad news for our friends in France and Europe, France closes. So I don't know why they do this, because it's pretty clear. You can stop the economy, but it doesn't stop C19. So France closed its borders to UK travelers, causing 60% of holiday bookings at ski resorts in the French Alps to be cancelled. So for anybody out there that had their skiing trip booked, I know my sister used to do that for years and years. Now they go to Canada. We're back to square one. So will the world's governments learn that lockdowns hurt only the economy? They don't stop C19. This is from Steve Hanke, one of the few pearls of wisdom that come from this guy. Sometimes he's a little bit anti-crypto as well. But anyway, I thought that was interesting to share. So with that, happy eve of Christmas Eve. I'll do a couple of questions and hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. Switch back. So let me see. Ryan Promer, are you there again? Ryan Promer, you're always first. How do you do it? So what's your take on Jack versus Web3 centralization? I just spoke about that. That's nuts. I think it's interesting. I think I am a big fan of Jack Dorsey and Elon Musk, and both of them think kind of the whole Web3 is a little bit fake right now. It's a long way to go. So the true meaning behind Web3 is where we as individuals own a piece of the internet. Yes, we can own an NFT, but it typically runs on something that's centralized. So it's going to be a long way before we get to a Web3. And I don't think Web3 will ever be what it's supposed to be. That'll probably be Web 4, where we can maybe run a mining rig in our house that will also run part of the internet. And that, I think that will be the future. And that's what Jack is exactly trying to do. So I'm on Jack's side. I'm on Elon Musk's side. The rest of them just want to own it. But again, remember the paradox. It's like, this is such a great question, Ryan. The paradox of what is everything we're doing right now. Blockchain, crypto, Bitcoin, Web3. It's all full of paradoxes. And it's going to be a long time before we can get away from it. Get to a pure state away from paradoxes. So Crypto Pappy, if Matic were to do a substantial burn, could it overtake Sol or ETH at the current rate of growth that's heading in? Yeah, as you guys know, I've been tracking Matic for the longest time, and we always said it was top 3 smart contract platform because of its adoption and growth. I do have a forecast for 2022. I do believe Matic will clearly do a lot more transactions than Ethereum. So that in itself, if you look at that, should it be worth more than Ethereum? So putting Solana aside, perhaps. But the problem is they charge a lot less fees than Ethereum does. You know, like a fraction, even though they increased their rates. So I don't think, no, they won't overtake Sol. Remember, Sol is still such an early project. It's 19 months old. It's a baby. A lot of these other projects are babies. So it takes time for them to get adopted and people to trust them and embrace them. But I've used all the chains, and I find Solana to have some of the best ease of use and definitely the best integration bar none across things like wallets and SolScan and everything else. And that's what I'm very excited in. So that'll drive a lot more adoption as we go forward. And if you've ever tried to transfer crypto from a centralized exchange to, say, OpenSea, and then move stuff to a wrapped ETH and get it back and everything else, it's a nightmare. But on the Solana ecosystem, you can do everything from one platform, and you can see all your transactions across all the different tools you use: Radium, Serum, you name it, Solend, your wallet, your Fantom wallet, and everything else. And that's where I believe is the big edge going forward. And that's why Crypto Poppy, I believe, Sol will stay ahead of Matic. But it was great to see Matic hit an all-time high today. So, Remy the Whippet, my ETH bag entered long-term capital gains territory. Thinking of selling, putting aside tax obligations, and add to my existing Sol bag. So what I would love to do is make my Sol bag equivalent to my ETH bag. It's now about 3.5. My ETH bag is about 3.5 times larger than my Sol bag. So I might do something similar too. We'll see. Especially before year end. I've got to spend some time over the next couple of days doing some tax calculations to see what works. But also think about a little bit of Luna. I'm doing a deep dive into Luna as well as we go forward. So stay tuned for that. There are a lot of inherent risks with every chain. I'm trying to find the least amount of risk with the most upside every single time. So the next question, I can't read the name. It's somebody from Japan. Thank you for writing in. Have you taken a look at LRC's loop ring tokenomics and the competition going on? How do you see Matic loop ring for the future? I have looked at that. I have looked at loop ring a few times. They do a fraction of the business that Matic does. I'm talking a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction, like less than 2%. So therefore, it's still so early stage. And I have to see a little more adoption before I get in right now because of their actual processing and how much they run. It is still very overvalued. That's why I haven't done a deep dive into it yet. But I have been looking at Loopring. You guys have been hounding me to look at it for a long time, and I have. But I haven't found it investable yet. But we'll see. Remember, Fantom, when I first looked at Fantom, it was scarcely adopted, but it exploded over the summer. So I'm looking at that type of relative explosive growth rate kind of lift off. I was watching the SpaceX rocket, and how you see as the air gets thinner, as the altitude increases, the rocket speed goes up exponentially. And that's what I'll be looking for with Loopring, if they can achieve that. But remember, next year is going to be all about ZK rollups, and therefore I believe Matic is the beast that's going to own that whole area. Skippy, magnificent. Is Luna a new counterbalance for bear markets? Buy Luna when others are high. Let them burn it during the crash for minting UST. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to figure out right now, is how much will adoption turn on that burn effect and make it extremely positive going forward. It's kind of complex mathematics, but what I'm really worried as well is the regulatory risk for these stablecoins. I know the SEC is already trying to go in after Do Kwon and his organization, and to what extent they can do that. To what extent can they block them, ban them? That'll have a huge impact on where we go going forward, and that's what I'm concerned about. But in full disclosure, Luna's my fourth biggest bag right now. A72, do you think Bitcoin has a shot at 12.5 million by 2030? No, but yes by 2031. By my calculations, which I had ratified by Robert Breedlove, if the money printing continues at a 30% per year clip, yes, we're going to get there real fast. Because again, it's actually similar to the analogy I just spoke about the rocket. As it goes higher, the air gets thinner. They need to amplify and accelerate the rate of money printing. So that 30% on 30% on 30%, you don't actually see it, but every year, that compounding effect of money printing compounds the debasement. And I'm going to discuss exactly this with my model, with Greg Foss and Jeff Booth on the 26th. So tune in for that. But A72, great question. Possible? Yes. Very theoretically possible. But remember, if Bitcoin is 12.5 million, that per my model as well, that becomes worth about 1.2 million in terms of real purchasing power for the US dollar. A young dev, where do you see Bitcoin Sol by the end of January? I think Bitcoin could be 70, 75, 80, 85K pretty easily. It depends on how fast the money comes in. Money is coming in Q1, but I don't know if it's all going to hit in January. I think what's going to happen as well, if the big money, institutional money, sovereign money is there, high net worth money, family office money, if they see it pumping really hard, those guys are going to get what's called FOMO. Won't be retail investors. It'll be the pros, and they're like, God, we better jump on this soon. And if they're looking at what I just showed you with the actual supply and how limited it is, like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out this thing is going to go boom sooner or later. I just don't know when. So that's it for now. I've got some little holiday errands to run today, so I'm doing it a little earlier, and I got to run. But I want to thank you all for your donations. Vagabundirendes Ketchen, thank you so much for your big donation to the animals. Really love it. Caligula, I want to wish everybody a Christmas cheer and well wishes. This community of amazing people is a blessing. Monica and Papa Hans are watching from snowy Minnesota. Hello, Papa Hans. Grüß Gott. Hope you have a happy holiday. And Solomon the Hodler, you're not like any shill tubers in India. I appreciate you do for the community, especially what you do for the helpless. I've learned a lot from you. My pleasure. Thank you so much. And Mike Rinaldi, MotoJB, Ricky Poole, Rusty Down Under, GT350, Dog1. Love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Justice for All, my favorite Metallica fan. Jack Anakasis. Christian Troost, Desert Dog, a bottle of red. Oh, I like that. I might have some this Christmas. Kiwi Robin, Scoobs25. And thank you to the mods in the chat today. Big Apple, Caligula, Kiwi Robin, and K8. See you all soon. Tomorrow, of course. Christmas Eve. Bye.